This podcast is brought to you by Reimagine Radio, the online radio station that aims to give you information on disability and music. My name's Graham Wyman, and I'm the program coordinator with the Vancouver Adapted Music Society. Welcome to the first VAMS Reimagine Radio podcast of 2021. Today my guest is Mark Ash. Hi Mark, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
That's my pleasure as well. And how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Well, why don't we jump right in then? So, you were born in Russia and you grew up in Russia during the 70s. What was that like?
Well, it was during communism.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of music was illegal or not allowed by the Communist Party.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything from the West, like Beatles or the Stones.
Right.
So it was a big deal if you heard some Beatles.
Right.
People would listen underground.
Okay.
And it was kind of bad.
Yeah.
You know, they were considered against communism.
Yeah, it's taboo, basically.
So it was very different, but it was very influential. Mm-hmm. Like as soon as you hear something different, you go, wow, there's so much more out there.
Right.
You know, when you always live like in a cave, you
mm-hmm.
don't know what's outside.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, was the music, I remember listening or speaking with you one time and you said that there was obviously a lot of censors in Russia that would censor certain music, but was a lot of the approved music more classical based?
It was classical or songs that worship Communist Party.
Right. Okay.
Like songs that sing how great we are and
right.
how much. Yeah, it's just worship of your leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Same as
like strength and unity, that kind of idea.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, you kind of.
But their education level in classical music
mm-hmm.
is right up there.
Right.
So if you want to play classical, they even teach you like the correct pose, how to sit and play piano.
Right.
You have to have your hands just right, your posture,
mm-hmm.
and I understand on the Russian system, if you're reading classical music, you have to read 7 notes ahead.
Oh.
Where you are. You have to anticipate.
Really?
Wow, that far ahead.
So your sight reading must be pretty good then, in the sense of how far ahead you're having to look at the music.
So in that way, it is advanced.
Mm-hmm.
But in the other ways, it's so restricted.
Right.
Like there's no soul.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like here we got the blues. And that's kind of the basis for R&B and funk.
Right. And would that also translate, like, I mean, would there be much improvisation in the Russian culture music during that time?
Yes, people are still creative. People still, when it comes to music, you can mix music and rules.
Mm-hmm.
In music, there's so much variation.
Yeah.
Rules don't work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at one time playing flat five was illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
It was called the Devil's Interval.
Yeah, I learned that in tonal harmony and counterpoint, how like it was
so,
again. Yeah.
So same things. You can't put rules on creativity.
No, that's true. So your mom was a music teacher. Why don't you tell our listeners, like, what did she play, teach, and yeah.
She played piano, accordion.
Okay.
She sang.
Yeah.
And she taught music to kids.
Okay.
Like on high school level.
Okay. Yeah. And
So what always had music at home?
uh yeah, lots. And what would your mom like? Type of music did she enjoy consuming?
Well, the Russian folk songs are very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them in the minor key.
Okay.
A lot of Russian music is minor.
Yeah.
So they do have some fantastic melodies and classical influence, all the European.
Yeah. And I guess is there a particular Russian composer that stands out that is say would be your favorite?
Well, I guess Tchaikovsky,
Okay. Yeah.
from what I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't very big on classical.
Okay.
I was into guitars
Yeah.
and beats.
Right.
There's no beats in Tchaikovsky.
No. No.
There's no.
And then
Although Ingrid Malmsteen,
right.
people like Ingrid Malmsteen,
Mm-hmm.
shredders.
Right. Yeah. And then did I know the answer to this, but how come you never took lessons from your mother?
Well, she was always busy with other kids.
Right.
And in some ways, although I didn't take lessons, growing up in that environment,
Mm-hmm.
being surrounded with music, it rubbed off on me, and it was part of my development.
Mm-hmm.
So although I didn't take like lessons per se,
Yeah. No, you
I
still absorbed
still heard the music, and it's still in me.
it.
It's in my genes,
Yeah. No, of course. So
which I hope.
yeah, you hope. Sorry, what?
Yes. I hope I'll pass that on to my kids.
Well, your son plays bass too.
Yes. So I hope he will pass it on.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So, when did your family immigrate to Canada, and what was that experience like coming out from a very censored kind of regime on what was acceptable to listen to?
Well, coming out of communist regime was very difficult. We left, I believe, in 78.
Okay.
And back then, we never imagined that communism will ever fall down like it did in the 90s.
Yeah.
So it was for us, it was very scary time. We didn't know where we're going. We didn't know language. My father had a sister in Canada.
Okay.
They sent us visas.
Right.
But it took about close to 2 years to immigrate.
Oh wow.
We lived in Vienna and Austria, and we lived in Rome
Okay.
for a year and a half.
Right. And did you
That
originally?
was super cool.
Yeah. Well, I bet Vienna
I
would have
got
been quite an exciting place to live in. With again the music culture alone in Vienna.
Vienna was cool. Rome was very cool. Italy was fantastic.
Yeah. Have you ever gone back to either country?
No, I never have. I've gone elsewhere. But one day I'd love to go back to Italy. Hopefully, as soon as COVID is down.
Yeah. Once the world gets back to a little bit more, normalcy. And then, so did you first come to Vancouver, or was it somewhere else in Canada?
We landed in Montreal.
Okay.
And we came to Richmond.
Okay.
And Richmond back then was just a small, to me, it was just a small village.
Okay.
Moscow's huge city. Rome was huge.
Yeah.
We go from, so Richmond was very small, and there was very little community of immigrants.
Right.
And that's, I think, which led me more to music. When I saw the cool kids playing music,
Okay.
and then I got exposed to like American TV and radio.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. Would have
I'll
it?
tell you, my first impression of America, we came here and the TV was on, and they had Wonder Woman.
Okay.
You know, like big American breasts surrounded by flag.
Right.
And they thought, wow, look at this. But then they had, then after that they had Hogan's Heroes. It's a comedy about concentration camp.
Okay.
And I thought that was the craziest thing ever. Because in Europe, you don't joke like that.
No, I get. Yeah, that's a little on the nose. I'm sure coming out of No, that. I mean,
So
yeah. I mean,
there
it must
was
have been quite a
lot
shock.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you were touching on the cool kids playing music. So when you were 15, you decided to pick up the bass, and I believe guitar as well. But what drew you to those instruments when you were, deciding to kind of really put some time into music?
Well, I began on rhythm guitar,
Mm-hmm.
just playing basic. And we needed a bass player in the band.
Oh, yeah.
We had lots of guitar players,
Yeah.
but nobody wanted to play bass because the third bass is only 4 strings.
Yeah.
I need more.
Yeah.
You know? So I didn't know how important bass is actually in music.
Mm-hmm.
Bass is the boss. It's not a C until the bass player plays the C.
Yeah.
It's not a chord.
No, it's the foundation that for all the harmonic structure.
Exactly.
No, and I'm with you on that because everyone wants to be a guitar player, and it's funny how underappreciated the bass is.
Sure is.
Yeah. And so again, you kind of touched talking about the bass, but what is it about the relationship between, say, the bass and the drums that is such an important foundation for, say, the music that you weren't listening to in Russia, but like, say, blues, pop, rock?
Yes. I think as they feel
Okay.
that the bass and drums, when they connect, when there's chemistry, it depends on the genre of music you play. You can play on top of the beat.
Mm-hmm.
You can play behind the beat.
Yeah.
If you play reggae, you sit back. And when you and the drum connect on that, like without even talking or speaking, you're just looking and feeling each other. Yeah, it's all about the feel.
Right. Yeah. And then I guess, is there any bass drummer duos that really stand out for you that have been inspiring in, your music, or just, that you love to listen to?
Well, for bass players, I like McCartney.
Yeah.
I like Getty Lee.
Correct. Yeah.
And I like the simplicity of Sting.
Okay.
Sting is really good. He said, I don't play many notes. I just play the good ones.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I actually, and this is a little aside from our usual question, or the questions that I have with me, but what are your thoughts, say, on Jaco Pastorius as a bass player?
Fantastic. What can you say? Yeah, he was a pioneer of fretless and so many techniques.
Yeah.
Like how you pump on bass.
Right.
And you and he was like harmonics on the flawless.
Oh yeah, yeah. Is it
Stuff like that. Back then it was not many people did that.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately he wasn't well.
Yeah, no, the ending of his life's quite tragic. But again, what he did for the instrument, I remember. I think it might have been Donna Lee, or no, it was Portrait of Tracy. That was the first time that I really, besides stuff in Weather Report, but his solo stuff. And you're right, like in Portrait of Tracy, the whole piece starts with him doing his harmonics, and then going into that. And again, the unique thing about him, and this is really. And I think I was in college when I first heard this stuff, but it really signified, and when I was starting to play bass more, but how, you can have a piece like Portrait of Tracy that is the bass only, but how, mesmerized and, like, focused you can be on the instrument, and how versatile the instrument is.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. So,
and back then, sorry,
no,
it was all analog.
Yeah.
All analog.
Yeah.
But we did that. People really had to know how to play back then.
Well, it's a whole group setting. It's not like... And to give our listeners who don't understand what Mark and I are talking about here, in today's recording industry, everything's done digital. And before the late 80s, early 90s, and we still do this practice today, but it would be called analog recording, which is on tape. So if someone messes up, you can't just digitally re-edit it. You either have to erase the whole thing or try to edit it with literally a razor blade. So people can be a lot more comfortable in making mistakes today than they used to be back then. Yeah. So, you started playing bass and guitar, but what was do you remember the first band that you played in?
Yes. It was a 5-piece band called Striker.
Striker, okay.
Was playing in high school.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was 17 or 18, we were allowed to play in a bar.
Right.
But in a bar, drink. So we just had to go on stage, play, and get out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And we stay for. But we all got dressed up.
Mm-hmm.
We had spandex pants, big hair.
Yeah.
We started rocking.
And what style of music were you guys playing?
Yeah, lots of gigs.
Sorry, I was saying what style?
We were playing like hard. We had the girl singer.
Okay.
We play hard.
Yeah.
Scorpions.
Okay.
AC/DC.
Mm-hmm.
We played Blue Oyster Cult. Yeah. I'm burning for you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't feel the reaper.
Or no. Yeah. you got enough cowbell on that one, eh?
Yeah, stuff like that. We play Paranoid.
Okay. Yeah. And so I guess what you kind of touched on it. So were there a lot of gigs back then for, say, like a high school band, kind of, starting out?
What now?
Yeah. No surprise there.
Yeah, we have dances.
Okay.
And people used to get together and celebrate stuff. Mm-hmm. Not like now.
Right.
Yeah, there was lots of work in the bar industry, in the sound industry, and lights. Mm-hmm. And it was big. We traveled. When I was on the road with touring bands,
yeah, you
travel on a truck full of gear. And you usually have a bunch of smaller vans or cars.
Yeah, trailers, things
like that. But we had crew. Okay. People that non-musicians still made living doing light setting stuff up, tearing down.
Yeah, roadies. Yeah.
We had the smoke machine. Somebody had to fill the smoke machine.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So, so you were playing bass, playing in bands around Vancouver, and then you started to study under Rene Worst. And what was that like?
Well, Rene's fantastic. He's world famous. He played with so many people.
Mm-hmm.
He plays upright. He plays awesome finger bass.
Yeah.
Play funk.
Mm-hmm.
And Rene's very theory knowledgeable. He's a real teacher.
Okay. Yeah.
So we studied like the real book.
Yep. Yeah.
And he would put us together in a smaller projects, and we had to make up pieces.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty intense for a couple years.
Okay. And I guess like what were some of the valuable lessons that that he taught you, like coming out and playing? Was there anything that you really took to heart after working with them?
I wouldn't say just his professionalism.
Okay.
He is very professional on bass.
Yeah.
And that really impressed me.
Yeah.
Plus, he's so good. I remember seeing him in Weather. No, Skywalk.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
used to be in the band called Skywalk.
Okay.
And they were a great band. Vancouver had many. We had jazz clubs. There were so many bars and music
Right.
and shows.
Oh, yeah. And then,
Yeah.
how did you see yourself grow as a musician working under Rene? Or studying under?
Well, acquiring knowledge every day.
Mm-hmm.
Acquiring as much as I could by then.
Right.
It's really quite an overload.
Right. No, I can see that.
Back then, I would play gigs, and I would go to school at daytime
Mm-hmm.
and play gigs at night
Right.
and record sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And then repeat.
But we all have to pay our dues in this business.
Mm-hmm.
The more gigs you do, the more dues you pay.
Yeah. No, the more you get comfortable with it, it's under your belt. Yeah. No, for sure. Well, Mark, thank you for joining us today for part one of our interview session with you. We'll be back next Wednesday at the same time to release part two, and we're going to have you for part two. Thank you very much, and take care.
Thank you.
All right, and to all our listeners, keep that music flowing.